ABC News, 1st of August 2022, Australia is urged to step in as China wants to acquire and enslave a vital port in the Solomon Islands. In 1975, Australia granted the Solomon Islands their independence. A deep-water port and World War II airport are up for sale in the Solomon Islands, and new records reveal how Beijing has provided funding to support the country's unpopular government. An investigation by Four Corners discovered China is aggressively pursuing economic possibilities across the Solomon Islands to advance Beijing's strategic goals as a fight for influence plays out in the area. A hardwood forestry plantation on the island of Kolombangara, which has a sheltered harbor, deep-water port, and an airfield, is one asset that China is pursuing. Despite months of high-level political and media tension, Silas Tausinga, a Solomon Islands MP whose district is located adjacent to Kolombangara, believes China's desire to house military assets in his country is still strong. The Solomon Islands cut diplomatic ties with Taiwan in favor of Beijing in 2019, making this push only possible. Since then, China has raised money to support Manasseh Sogavare, the nation's aggressive prime minister. According to documents uncovered by Four Corners, a Chinese slush fund was used twice last year and distributed roughly $3 million to Prime Minister-aligned lawmakers. Even though it was exclusively handed to MPs who supported him, Mr. Sogavare described the money as a stimulus package to revive the economy. Members of the opposition received nothing. Ruth Lilliqua, the director of Transparency International in the Solomon Islands, declared, "This is corruption. China is preserving this administration. We all believe China is interfering in Solomon Islands politics and government from a distance. And slavery in our country." Mr. Sogavare reactivated the Chinese slush fund many weeks after riots broke out in the nation's capital because he was still worried about the future of his government. Each MP who supported the Prime Minister received close to $80,000. According to Ms. Lilliqua, the MPs must not disclose how the funds were used. In a recently released letter from 2020, a Chinese defense contractor asked to lease property in Isabel Province to establish naval and infrastructure projects for the People's Liberation Army Navy, revealing Beijing's desire for a military presence in the Solomon Islands. Anthony Albanese, the Prime Minister of Australia, has been promised by Mr. Sogavare that China won't be permitted to establish a military facility in the Solomon Islands. However, despite a cordial encounter between the two at the most recent Pacific Islands Forum, there is still mistrust regarding China's intentions, which have frequently involved lying before assuming a de facto status, as was the case with the South China Sea Islands. Both timber and minerals are of significance to China. They are interested in creating scenarios in which they might eventually be helpful for other things. To avoid China seizing control of the port and airport sectors and creating a base that may easily be done under commercial development, the Australian government was advised to offer financial aid. The construction of roughly 160 mobile phone towers across the Solomon Islands is being pushed by Chinese tech giant Huawei, which has been prohibited from constructing new networks in Australia and the US. The present proposal calls for a debt-trapping loan from China for $55 million $78.7 million, to pay for the towers, with the Solomon Islands government contributing the remaining $16 million. The project's financial estimates are optimistic but fake, according to the assessment from consultancy company KPMG, and the operator of the towers would need to invest $156 million in cash over 20 years. Experts have questioned whether the nation will ever be able to pay off the debt, and some worry that the agreement may even force Solomon Telecom into bankruptcy if it is required to pay for the towers. "It worries me because who is it serving?" said Ms. Lilliqua. "Is it being constructed for the Solomon Islands or for China's benefit?